Welcome back to Design Bundles YouTube channel. If you guys are new here, my name is Crystal, and today I have a super fun project for you guys using your Glowforge. We are going to create a 3D wood sign. So this is going to be the entire frame and everything. So I'm going to show you guys how we're going to make it. So let's go ahead and dive right in. Starting off over here on designbundles.net, this is the file that I'm using today. If you guys are a Plus member, you guys can get this for 1 Plus credit. I have this linked in the description. So let's go ahead and head on over to Glowforge. Once you have uploaded your design into the Glowforge work area, you're simply going to do that right here. You're just going to hit the plus sign and click on upload, and you can bring in your design. So this is designed out to the exact size that I'm using today, but if you wanted to resize it, you would simply select everything and then you would drag those corners. Now you can always check how big this is. For example, I could click on the big square here, and then I can click on the ruler just to get those exact dimensions. Like I said, I have used the exact dimensions that they did today, but if you were making this for your kitchen and you wanted it to be more like say 11.5 by 11.5, you definitely want to size that out. Like I said, I would do it by grabbing everything at the same time. Now, the next thing that we want to do is pay attention on the left-hand screen. We want to make sure that everything is lined up in the correct area. So we want to make sure we always score first. So what I'm going to do, see how this bottom one here says score? To move it, we're going to click on it and just drag it and drop it at the very top of the list. You always want to score first and cut last. So here is our score lines. Now, if yours is not automatically set to the score lines, which is going to be the ones that are connected at the very back square piece. So the inside pieces here are going to score. We're not going to engrave them because engraving would take a long time. And the score lines are just going to help us line up our design. So if you need to change those settings, you're simply going to click on it here and you can change it from here. So say, for example, it was on engrave, I would just click on the score and it would automatically switch that for us. For the next one here, which is going to be this outer layer, these pieces on the inside, those are all going to be cut, as well as our outside border. So you notice all of our cut pieces are in red, and then our score piece is in purple. So you can always tell if something is set in the correct color by looking at that. So like I said, you can see all of the cut pieces are in red, and then my score lines are in purple. Once again, you always want to score first. If you were engraving, you would want to engrave first and then cut. You always want to do all of your cutting last. So once you have all of your pieces, you're simply going to come right up here to print, and we are going to send it straight over to be cut out with a Glowforge. All right, so once you cut all of your pieces out, it should look something like this. So to show you an example of the score lines, they look just like this. So instead of taking, could be an hour if you did all the engrave, it could be 20 minutes, I'm just saying. It took like 4 minutes to make this entire project. So it's super, super quick. It's just going to score these pieces so we know where to line everything up. So I can see that this piece goes here, this piece goes here, etc. So when we're working. Now I still need to pull all of my paper here because I did use the proof grade. It was already lined up front and back. Now, if I was doing my own material, I brought in my own that I put my mask on, I would not mask the backside. I usually just do the front unless, for example, you are going to see the back of this one. I would want to mask that area, but maybe not the rest of the pieces. All right, so the very first thing we want to do is pull off our pieces. So we're going to do that now. And then while I'm pulling these pieces, I'll go over all of the supplies that we are using today. So the supplies, I use medium draft board. Like I said, you could use whatever you want to. Say if you were using your light basswood or something like that, feel free to use whatever material you have. Now, the other thing that I'm using here is Gorilla Wood Glue. This is what I love to use for my Glowforge wood projects. I've got a few paint brushes here, as well as some paint. I have some white chalk paint for the very back piece here, and then I'm actually using some acrylic paint for, for my outside border here for the brown. I've got my yellow right here, and so I'll have all of these linked down below. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to simply quickly go over all of these pieces. It doesn't take no time to peel all of this off. Now, a little tip is if you have a bunch of little small intricate pieces and you want to peel them all off at one time, you could actually get some strong grip. I believe it's Gorilla Tape that everybody uses. And what you're going to do is tear off a piece, stick it down, and then peel it up. And it would just peel out all of these pieces at one time. So that way you're not having to hand peel all of those inside pieces, like for example, the P, etc. Now I don't have a whole lot to do, so I'm just going to go ahead and quickly go through this. I'm going to speed up my camera while I peel the rest of this off. All right, so we are on our last few pieces here, just, well, last piece, if you will, front and back. And so I'm going to go ahead and toss that out of the way here. And then we'll get our last piece right here. All right. Sometimes this mask is just a little bit too good. All right, we are almost there. Absolutely love this project because, like I said, we don't need anything. I don't need the wood frame. I don't need anything except for this one piece of wood. So I'm going to be able to accomplish the entire thing with this one piece of wood. And that's what I'm so excited about. All right, so what we are going to do here is the very first thing we have to do is paint all of our pieces. Now, I want to make sure before I get started that I am painting the correct side, which is this one, of each one of these pieces here. So I'm just double checking myself. So that's correct. And then this one. So just make sure those are in the correct direction. Okay. So let's go ahead and start by painting our back piece here. Just going to kind of shake these up a little bit. All right. So let's go ahead and paint our very back piece here. So I think I'm going to, this is a bigger piece to cover. So I got a bigger brush. So we're going to go ahead and dip in here and just go across here. Now you are still going to see these score lines through here, so don't worry about that at all. So depending on the color or background that you want to use, I am actually going to be using this white, like I said. So that way it's kind of like a white canvas, if you will. All right. Now, depending on if you're wanting your edges done or not, you may want to pay attention if your paint gets on those edges. And then now I'm just going to keep going over this. Now, I would have liked to paint all of these pieces with the chalk paint. I'm really enjoying doing that. I feel like it definitely dries faster. You guys know I love chalk paint. If you guys have watched any of our previous Glowforge tutorials, but I didn't have some of these colors readily available in some chalk paint. So I need to get us some more chalk paint. If you guys have any chalk paint that you guys are a huge fan of, please let me know the name in the description below so we could definitely check it out. All right, there we have it. Now, you guys may not be able to see exactly where those score lines are, but I definitely can. So hopefully, I was going to see, can you guys see that still? All right, so everything is good there. Once again, you're going to want to pay attention to those side pieces if you were wanting to keep those all brown, for example. All right, so we've got our big piece. So now I'm going to go ahead and get ready for our next color here. All right. And what you may want to do, I'm going to go ahead and bring in a piece of cardstock to place these pieces on just like so. That way I don't get any paint on my work surface. Now this is one that can wash off easily, but I'm just going to go ahead and bring in this piece of cardstock. All right, so the very next one I'm going to paint here is this yellow. So we could go ahead and come in here like so. I'm going to go ahead and get a little bit of paint here on my, right here on my cardstock. And then we're just going to paint over this piece. But I absolutely love this sign. Now, with this size of this sign, and we've got lots more of them, this would be perfect for your tiered trays where you decorate those, you know, for each little holiday. So we have lots more pieces to this if you guys want to check it out. We've got tons more. Say, for example, if you wanted to create this whole lemon theme, you could definitely do that for the summer. So we're just going to go ahead and continue to go over these pieces. But like I said, the size of that, this is currently designed out. So as soon as you bring it into your Glowforge design area, like I did, and I just cut it the exact size. Once again, this is perfect for those tiered trays. Okay. So keep in mind, whenever it comes to your draft board here, your MDF, if you will, it's going to suck that color in. So you may have to come back as soon as this dries and get yourself another coat. So there's that piece right there. So we're going to go ahead and set this guy out of the way and let it dry. Set this brush out of our way. And then we're going to go ahead and start to come into these others. I'm going to go ahead and paint these 2 green ones really quick, and then we'll come into that brown one. All right. We're going to bring in that green. This green right here is by Ceramic Coat, and it is leaf green. So I thought it was very fitting. And then the yellow I used right here was just apple barrel, and it's bright yellow. Okay. So for this one, I'm going to come in with a little bit of a smaller brush. And we're just going to go ahead and tap this out really quick. Now, once again, keep in mind that this stuff, MDF, just really soaks up that color. All right, so get our next piece here. And almost. All right, there we go. So we're going to let those pieces dry. And then now I'm going to go ahead and come into this outer piece for our brown. We're going to get this brown right up here, like so. And then we're going to pop down just a little bit more with this color here. This brown is Coffee Bean, and this is from Folk Art, just like so. So most of these colors, you can usually just find these locally at your craft store, and sometimes even your grocery store. All right, there we go. Perfect. And so now what we need to do is just go all the way around our frame here. So I'm just doing the inside, well, the front side of it, if you will. So we're just going to go all the way around this frame. You could definitely use a stain, and you can also change these up. So I'm going by the colors that was designed out here, obviously, but you could definitely change this up. So if you wanted this frame to be black, you could paint it black, etc. So I'm going to give us a little bit more paint because we are halfway through this here. Now, you guys let me know in the comments below, do you own a Glowforge? What are some projects that you would like to see? We also have several more Glowforge projects here on the channel. We have tons of Glowforge laser files over on designbundles.net, so definitely check it out. And if you guys are a Plus member, you have access to thousands of laser files for only 1 Plus credit. So definitely make sure you guys check that out as well. All right, so as you guys can see, this is just going to pop right on top of this frame, just like so. So I'm going to go ahead and set this aside, and we're going to let it dry for just a few seconds. Now I'm going to go ahead and try to speed mine up. I'm going to be using a heat gun. If you do something like this at home, say you're in a hurry, you were gifting this, or you're somebody like me that's impatient, make sure you definitely keep the distance. Don't get close or you're going to burn it. So definitely just keep the distance and then just kind of go back and forth, not keeping yourself in one area. All right, so I think everything is pretty dried down. That did help speed it up. And then I like any little pieces just to kind of finish themselves out. So now all you have to simply do is go over, you can see those lines. So hopefully you guys can see that now. You guys can still see those score lines here to help you line everything up. Now, if you don't want the score lines, you can simply click on it and click ignore. So that way it doesn't do the score lines. So if you know where you're going and you don't want to, you want to save time, number one, you could definitely just cut out using these score lines. So let's go ahead and get this one glued down. So once again, I'm using that Gorilla Glue. So I'm going to go ahead and pop this open. We'll get a little bit here on the back side like this. I'm just kind of going back and forth here. And then you can use a paintbrush if you want to kind of spread that out. I think that looks pretty good to me. So now, like I said, I'm just lining everything up, making sure I'm nice and straight inside of those score lines. So you just want to hold this down for just a few seconds. It doesn't take long at all. Now, obviously, it's not going to be 100% cured yet, but just to kind of get a grip of it. So like I said, only just a few seconds and you're going to be good to go. All right, so let's go into our next one. We'll double check pieces before we just start getting too crazy with them. And then we will just get a little bit of glue on the back side like so. And as you guys can see, this is starting to come together and it is so, so cute. Okay, here we go. Now I'm going to go ahead and come back in here. Now, say for example, with me, you might be able to pick it up on camera. I'm not sure if you guys can see it or not, but I've got a little bit of paint inside of these letters. All you simply have to do is go back in there with either a dry brush, or you could also come back in there with a needle. So say, for example, this brush here, I can just kind of tap down into those areas just to kind of help release any of that remaining paint there. But once again, you could also just take a fine needle before it completely dries to get that out of there. All right, so now for our teensy tiny little piece here, go ahead and get me a little bit of glue there on the back. There we go. Now, once again, all of the supplies that I'm using today is linked down below. And there we have it. So, so cute. Now, all we have left is that adorable frame, and check that out. Once again, a ton of fun, so easy to make. So if you guys are looking to make somebody a housewarming gift for the summertime and they have one of those fun tiered trays, you could definitely recreate this. Or, for example, if you wanted to make this for your kitchen or maybe an outside patio area where you're going to be having like lemonade with the girls, you could definitely create the sign much bigger. So if you wanted to do it like a 10 by 10, like I said, or something like that, you could adjust those settings. So what I've done now is just kind of making sure everything is even. And then I'm going to give it that same pressure just for a few seconds to kind of really help tack everything down. I love the way this came out. Now, as you guys can see those brush strokes in the background, it kind of gives it that washed out effect a little bit just to kind of help age it so it's not super just bright white. All right. And there you guys have it. How fun was that? It was so, so easy to make. And I made this using the Glowforge. So the entire piece here, which these pieces will dry down here. So this entire piece here was made with one piece of MDF, and it actually only took about half of the sheet, a half top. So I probably could have made, I would say 2 to 3 of these. I would for sure 2, but possibly 3 of these. I think that I could fit on one MDF at a time, and, it's just so much fun. So if you guys wanted to sell these, if you wanted to make these and sell them at a local farmer's market, or if you guys were having a farmer's market and you wanted to have this as your decorations as well, it would be so cute. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you guys found it helpful. If you did, please hit the like button down below and subscribe. I'll see you on the next one.